your time as police chief, you may have established some controversial, not laws, but controversial things to be able to keep our citizens safe. One of those being the cool down that was, even myself, being younger when I came into play, I did not understand what it was. I didn't understand why are we, as minorities, young Latinos or African Americans, being targeted, because at some point that's how I felt, you know what I mean? Whether it was right or wrong, I can't speak on that, but I could say that that's how I felt. So how would you explain the cool down, and how did it differ from the New York policy?
Well, one of the things that I want people to understand, in terms of my entire career, 30 plus years, 32 years in the police department, everything I did was about saving lives, everything, because for me, most painful thing, long before I was a chief, was to go on these calls where we had young people, particularly young people of color, laying in the street who have been shot dead. And so as chief, and I'll back up even, as a young policeman, when we knew that there was something going on, say you had a beef with me, what we would do is just document it. We document that, Sheppard has a beef with John, put it on a form, it'd go into a computer, and then when John got shot, we go looking for Sheppard. And so over time, we realized we had a much greater responsibility to get between these violent events, where if there is a beef between you and me, the police department have a responsibility to talk to you, talk to me, talk to our parents, talk to our friends, try to diffuse these situations so they didn't escalate to somebody getting killed. As chief, there was a period of time where, I think it was 2012, where a lot of shootings were going on, a lot of homicides were occurring, and I felt it was my responsibility, number one, to do something, not just stand by and just count bodies, but I had a responsibility to this community to say, we're going to try to save some of these lives, we're going to do something. Number two, I communicated to the bad boys, I'll call it, by saying, this is what I'm going to do, because I want them to say, you know what, if the police are going to be up in their efforts, then let me leave my gun at home. Because every shooting I've ever heard, there was always a gun right there to be used. And so what I wanted them to be in a place where they took their gun, left it home, put it in a garage, put it in a bush. Now if we get in a beef, if I go get it, by the time I come back, you're already gone. So that's an instance where violence did not occur. And so that's really what I strive to do as chief. Last point I'll make is that, every year, state police, Monroe County sheriffs, they'll tell you, we're gonna do DWI enforcement on New Year's Eve. They don't tell you that because they want you to go out and get drunk so they can catch you. They tell you that so you don't do it. And so that was my mindset too, of advertising what I was gonna do, so that people would take it into consideration and not be carrying those weapons.
I guess the main concern on the cool down was the fact that some of the citizens and young adults from the city of Rochester feel like some of the police officers may not be culturally trained, may not have the diversity training, or may have had it but still not quite understand that you are dealing, especially if you're coming in from the suburbs and you're coming into the city, to dealing with a whole different sociological group, a whole different group of people. How do you then train those officers, or are you willing to, in the future, be able to train those officers to be able to be more selective, not just target individuals just because you look like you're up to no good, you know what I mean? Or what is the definition of up to no good? It's me wearing a hoodie, walking down the street with a bag of M&Ms or Skittles mean that I'm up to no good? Is me sagging my pants means that I'm up to no good? Or is it an individual who's constantly in the corner and you see them making hand exchanges or something? Is that individuals up to no good? Or individuals who you constantly see threatening in the community as a whole? Because I could say that I, for myself, I don't want to have to say that I got to move to Arnico, I have to Pittsburgh, I have to move to Victor, because I don't feel safe. Because in the future I will have to raise my own family, but I would like to raise them here in the city of Rochester. I would like them to go to the city school district. I would like them to attend everything that has to do and everything that the city has to offer, which is really a lot of things. But I also want my future kids, my family, not only that, but present family, to be safe. I want to be able to know that if I send my daughter off to school, that she will be safe on her walk to school, you know what I mean? And that I wouldn't have to worry about those things. So I understand where cool down came into effect, but I guess going back to the question is, how do we make sure moving forward that the officers get the proper training? For me, I lived in the city, raised in the city. I could say as a 17, 16 years old, catching the bus to go to Monroe High School or East High School, I had individuals come up to me, hey, would you like that flyer? Would you like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, why am I being offered drugs? So at that early age, when I'm just trying to get on my bus to go to school. So again, I understand cool down, but where do we move forward to be able to connect the police officers back to the community, because they're there to protect and serve, you know?
Well, I think the key thing is, And back when I was the chief, one of the things I advocated for was policing in the spirit of service. And what that was is really not just a philosophy of being nice policemen. It was really about a philosophy of how you get to where you just described. Who do you hire to be policemen? You know, one thing that I think is very important, you hire people that have life experience. Number two, you hire people that are people, if that makes sense. You know, people who like to talk to people, like to engage people, because a lot of times a police interaction is bad, not because of the stop. It's bad because of the way that I treat you during that stop. You know, if I come up to you and say, hey, what's up, how you doing today? And it's all good, I can have the same conversation that I could if I came up and jacked you up and say, what are you doing here? Where'd you get that car? You steal that car? So that to me is important, is who you hire and their demeanor in terms of dealing with people. Number two is what do you reward in terms of policing? You know, when I came up, a lot of times the reward system was based on great arrest. You know, who made a great arrest, who seized dope, who got a gun. You change your reward system so you're acknowledging people who are out there doing positive things. You know, who's on their own time, you know, coaching a Little League team, going to schools, reading to kids, doing things that are positive outside of the job. Who do you promote? Same thing applies. If you promote good people, they will produce good people behind them. So that's what you want, is somebody who's, all those things we said, good communicators, good listeners, good people, good hearts. Now, when they're supervisors, that's how they're going to supervise the people they have. And so it's not an overnight change that you can make happen, but it's a cultural change. It takes a number of years, but you focus on those attributes that I described, and you can change any organization, particularly a police department.
Last question on cool down. Was it effective in what it set out to do? Was it effective in keeping us safe as citizens in the city of Rochester?
I think, again, it had two focuses. Number one, a lot of times when you have these series of violent events, shootings, homicides, people want to know, what is the city doing? What's the police department doing? And so it was successful because we did articulate, this is what we're doing. What you find is that a lot of time with violence in the city of Rochester in particular, a lot of times it's cyclical. You'll have a period of time where it's 4 or 5 weeks where things are just going crazy, and then it'll calm down. And so in terms of it being successful in the sense that, yes, it communicated what we were going to do. Number two, it did give us an opportunity to engage people and let people know that, guess what, you can't be running around with guns all the time. It was successful in that regard. But at the same time, the problems that we face in this city, concentration of poverty, the education piece, that contribute to the violence that we see, these are long-term problems that the police are ill-equipped to really take care of. You know what I mean? We got to take care of our poverty issue and our education issue if we really want to make violence go away.